What I find so fascinating about video games is the emotions they can give you. I'm sure that a lot of us always look for fun as a base, but I always like it when I feel that extra. It can be immense happiness, a lot of tears, or hey look, it's Halloween! Why don't we focus on those moments where we felt fear?
I see dread as an added bonus, because it's still an emotion that sticks with you. Horror is a genre I don't delve too deep into, but usually I end up enjoying it because it's a unique experience that normally I can't find anywhere else. But that doesn't mean fear is exclusive to the horror genre, and that's what I wanna focus on this video. Those moments that made our younger selves scream in terror. As kids, we are all more mentally vulnerable, and what we live there remains strong in our minds as we grow up. Perhaps on this video you will see something that nowadays might be laughable, but remember, we were kids. And besides, sharing these stories is always funny.
And to make this video even more special, I won't just be sharing my own personal experiences. I went on to social media to ask my friends to tell me theirs, so I'm including what they share with me here. You'll never know! You might find some stories relatable and find out you were not the only kid scared of Dash from Diddy Kong Racing.
I'm kicking this off by mentioning the first company that scared the shit out of me in many ways. Rareware. There's some irony here because their games were a huge part of my childhood. But that doesn't change the fact that they still found ways to traumatize me in many ways. Banjo-kazooie was one of the first instances where I felt fear. I was playing this game around the age of 7, and by that time, I already had the misconception that every single shark is a relentless killing machine. So both Snacker and Clanker are the first memories I have of going. And there's some irony here. I mentioned on my Giygas video that I was eventually able to overcome my fear of Clanker once I found out he's actually friendly. Snacker, however, can go fuck himself. He took me longer to get over because he was always on the chase for me. That's one of the reasons as to why I had a fear of the ocean for a few years. But nowadays I find it fascinating more than anything because it has some incredible creatures, like this guy. He looks very friendly. One thing I recognize about Rareware at a young age is that they had a talent to make genuinely disturbing game over scenes. I know of a lot of kids who were traumatized by just losing in the Donkey Kong Country games, because they had these images of what happens to the characters after a game over, and they were always accompanied with creepy background music. Donkey Kong 64 had a screen of K. Rool about to blow Donkey Kong Island, leaving the rest to the players' imagination. And it wasn't just Donkey Kong. Banjo-kazooie outright showed you what happens to your sister after you fail to save her. And here's the thing, normally one will try to not die, but this scene is what will greet me after trying to quit the game. I mean, I could always turn off the console, but I didn't know that the first time. A special mention goes to Conker's Bad Fur Day, because it didn't just show you the horrible fate of the protagonist after a game over. It was different depending on how you died, but all the variations were equally disturbing. To Conker going missing, to him becoming a table leg for the rest of his life, or King Panther's minions showing a bag of his remains. Rareware pulled no punches when it came to showing your failures, but I guess those were good motivators to beat the games and give our heroes happy endings. Except for Conker, of course. Now I'm gonna read some of the comments I got from my friends. Naturally, I'm not fully familiar with every single game they talk about, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out. So, Ryan here says, the Ratchet & Clank one, Blackwater City, Rising Water part. It gave me a fear of cramped spaces and drowning, mainly due to the sound effect of almost drowning, and seeing Ratchet drown was so traumatizing as a kid. I can honestly understand that. There's something horrifying about watching the hero desperately try to get some air, only for them to drown. And speaking of water, Andrew here told me, the fish monster from Jak and Daxter that will eat you if you swam too far out of bounds. Again, I have no experience with Jak and Daxter, but I get where he's coming from. I hate being eaten alive in video games. That's why I hate the cheap chomp from Super Mario 64. And this fear is not too far away from Snacker when you think about it. The Legend of Zelda is another series where me and a lot of people experience true fear. And the main thing we all agreed on were on the Red Deaths, with their grotesque design and piercing screams. They became roadblocks to progress through these games. Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker took me a long time to beat as a kid because of these monsters. In Ocarina of Time because I was so scared to play the game after becoming an adult, because you always had to go through the now destroyed castle town filled with these zombies. As you already know, I didn't know English at the time, so I implied the Red Deaths were the deceased people from Hyrule. Nowadays I know that's not the case, but as a kid, I had to muster so much courage just to get to Hyrule Field. And that wasn't the end of it, because my friend told me that eventually I would have to fight an even scarier monster that looks like a white skinless chicken. I thought, that can't be that scary. But I go to Kakariko's bottom of the well and... Yep, he wasn't lying. As for Wind Waker, it was a similar case. The Red Deaths were roadblocks that literally paralyzed me. But I also remember being stuck for the longest time because the first visit to the Forsaken Fortress scared the shit out of me. All they had to do was to take away your sword and turn this whole area into a stealth section. And finally there was the ghost ship. I once stumbled upon this thing by pure accident, but didn't know what to do with it. After getting the map that lets you get inside, I was so fucking scared to even get close to it because I didn't know what could be inside. Another Zelda thing I was asked to include was the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time. This personally didn't scare me much as a kid, but it's no wonder a lot of people felt like that towards it. This temple has a very unique atmosphere. It's a bizarre experience to set foot on this place. It has the twisted corridor, the Poe sisters, the wall masters. The cherry on top is the music, which is a mix of eerie and haunting sounds. This is something I can only describe as someone is following you. It's a very unique temple, made more terrifying through the eyes of a child. Of course, we can't talk about scary stuff in Zelda without mentioning Majora's Mask, and let me put it like this. Every moment with this game as a kid was horrifying, and every time I managed to overcome a fear, it would get replaced by a new one. I was traumatized when I let the moon fall because I didn't know what to do because I didn't know English. The Woodfall Temple with its music that made me feel I was being observed. The aliens from Romani Ranch, getting the eggs in the sea snake's lair. I only got far because a friend was helping me, but I still had to overcome those fears myself. But then comes Ikana Valley. This was the point that broke me because the place had everything to have me in constant fear. Creepy atmosphere? Check. Eerie music? Check. Assassins that come out of nowhere? Check. Red Deaths all over the place? Check. The final straw was when I entered Pamela's house and I witnessed this. I scream in horror, I turn off the console, and I run away. Which I really wish I hadn't, because the scene you get after saving Pamela's father is incredibly beautiful. Majora's Mask is truly a one-of-a-kind game. Check this out, these friends had a similar fear but in different games. Andrew Pliskin told me, I kid you not, mining in Minecraft. When you get deep down and in the dark, with just creepy cave sounds will scare the hell out of me, especially when I played alone. Lex here growth, I swear to God, Gmod had shadow people in GM Construct. And finally, Dylan told me, the opening dungeon to Mega Man Legends scared me so much as a kid, especially considering it was my first ever 3D experience. I see some relation in these three areas, because they isolate the player, surrounding them with near silence, so it evokes a fear of the unknown. One so strong that any sound or movement that might seem unusual is enough to scare any kid. And speaking of isolation, I also got a few comments related to Metroid. I can bring up the Emmys from Dread, but no. We are talking about childhood fears, so mentioning the SAX should suffice. And how can it not scare any kid? The entrance leaves a strong impression. Throughout the game, you are told this parasite is imitating you at full power, and that is demonstrated through gameplay, as every encounter against it is tense, challenging and scary. Continuing with Metroid, Maxi shares with us definitely the Brainstorm stage from Melee. Whatever that thing in the background was, it scared the hell out of me, especially when it moved. Plus, the whole organic feeling of the fleshy platforms, the rising acid, and the music. Now I want you to think, what's the most innocent franchise you know? Super Mario might be one of the first to come to mind, but not even those games are exempt of giving nightmares to kids. I have two memories in particular that left a strong impact on me. Paper Mario Chapter 7. As a kid, I loved penguins, so I reached Shiver City and... Yay! Penguins! Look at them, they're so adorable! So I entered this house trying to figure out what to do, only to find a body on the ground and... I'm sorry, can you blame me for literally freezing in fear because of this scene? I was so young, I barely knew English to understand what was going on. I love penguins and now I find the corpse of one while this haunting music plays in the background? Luckily, it's proven later that the Major is alive and everything's well. So great! The penguins got a happy ending. Now if you excuse me, I need to go to therapy to heal this trauma. The other memory lies in Luigi's Mansion. As a kid, I had a strong fear of the dark. And what do you think? There's a section in the game where you're on top of the mansion and you get a power outage. And the only way to bring it back is to go all the way down to the basement. I was thrown right into the lion's den and I was super scared. But if we can see the positive side, having to live through this as a kid helped me to overcome my fear of the dark. Kinda. Since I'm on the topic of Luigi's Mansion, Caitlin here added. When I was younger, I could never play past the beginning of Luigi's Mansion. Not because of difficulty, but because of Chauncey. Being warped to a giant crib where he hurls giant stuff at you and does that crying scared me to death. Whenever I turn on Luigi's Mansion, I will stop as soon as I got to the hallway. The lesson here is that if you meet a baby, know that it's always plotting on your downfall. And hey! Speaking of ghosts, a lot of people mention one in particular. King Boom Boo from Sonic Adventure 2. I forgot about King Boom Boo! Dude scared the fuck out of me! This motherfucker from Sonic Adventure 2! Fire Emblem Fates! Also King Boom Boo. I get that. It's such a weird monster to find in a Sonic game. And the disturbing noises he makes as well as how unexpected his battle is, that can be pretty scary for any kid. Okay, the next one is genuinely disturbing, even today. This is a video game character, but I didn't know that until many years later. I won't show you the entire video, but if you recognize this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I present to you...
La pequeña araña en un tubo se subió.
Naturally, every time I look at Andros, I will get scared. Luckily, I got over that fear when Brawl put him as an assist trophy. But that memory of the original video never left my mind as a kid. Huh, maybe that's why I grew up traumatized. Now I wanna share a slightly controversial pick. Harry Potter. Yes, I am completely aware that the series is pretty myth and the author is a piece of shit. But I didn't know any better when I was a child. That's what I grew up with, and believe it or not, the games are honestly very solid. I specifically remember getting nightmares of the PC versions of the Philosopher's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets. Credit where it's due, the games had some great atmosphere, with its mysterious music, creepy background noises, some disturbing 3D models, and even the shitty Spanish dub.
Mi pobre gatito se ha caído por el pozo. No puedo alcanzarlo.
All of that made the games had moments where they scared me, whether it was intentional or not. I remember hitting a lot of roadblocks, the stealth section in Slytherin's common room which was way too much pressure for me, the insta-kill doors in the Chamber of Secrets, but I especially remember being haunted by the troll in the first game. This made me cry, simple as that. The troll was way too disturbing for me. Its ugly appearance, its unnerving fast movements, and the first half of the fight is a chase sequence that I could never finish because I was way too scared. Say what you wanna say about the Harry Potter franchise as a whole, but these games were honestly memorable adventures. Even if said adventures scared me through my childhood. And apparently I'm not the only one who thought that. My good pal Anthony said, "The most memorable one for me is from the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban GBA game. The fucking Dementor sport along with the music is something I can say kept me up for a good few days, because not only was music super terrifying." I find it interesting that my friend felt that on a GBA game of all things. I know he was a kid, but it can't be that bad, can't it? Rated E for everyone. Now my friend Mike wanted to give a quick look at two particular creatures in the Pikmin series. First, there's the Smoky Prog. What makes this enemy so bizarre is not just its unique appearance, it's also how rare it is. It has only made one appearance in the entire series, and there is a chance you might never fight it. You must find its egg during the first 15 days, and once it hatches, it becomes the hardest battle in the game, as it can wipe out your entire squad of Pikmin without effort. Olimar believes that this monster might be a malformed Mamuta, but that's all we know about this creature. Without a doubt, one of the scariest monsters in the series. Another guy who shares similar traits is the Water Wraith from the second game, and this I 100% agree with. It's a humanoid creature with a watery, transparent body whose physical form resides in another dimension. This creature lives in a submerged castle and will get the jump on you once 5 minutes pass. After that, it will relentlessly chase you, crushing everything in its path while this unnerving song plays in the background. And if that wasn't bad enough, the ship itself tells you, attacking it is futile. Water Wraith has gone down in Nintendo history as one of the scariest and most tense enemies to fight for the first time, and it left a huge impact on anybody who played Pikmin 2. Alright, there's still a lot of contributions that my friends sent me, so I'll just be quick with these ones. Super Mario 64, the giant eel, the fucking piano, and the merry-go-round music. Super Mario Sunshine, the giant sea monster whose teeth you have to clean. Sonic series, the drowning music, but most importantly, the flute from Halo Combat Evolved, or as my friend Judge likes to call them, Evil Popcorn. Steven shares with us his experience with Carnage Dr. Octopus in the 2000 Spider-Man game, highlighting the random dead ends, Carnage running towards the screen, and not being able to see where you're going. My friend Pablo commented a very in-depth, disturbing memory about Earthbound. He grows fucking Giygas! And he's absolutely right. It's even more disturbing when you find out how the creator came out with this final boss. It's genuinely fucked up. As for Pokemon, Sunkel said, the void/mystery zone in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl was scary because I thought I got stuck there and would have had to reset my whole game. That's a very unique childhood fear, but I get them. Even as a kid, I heard about these places being able to ruin your whole game. So knowing that their entire data was at risk of being corrupted must have been a very disturbing experience for them. Hector told me, the fucking heart inside the Statue of Liberty in GTA 4. You know, I love how a lot of these comments have the word fucking before the trauma. That is always a necessary word, no matter the context. Metal Gear Solid 2, the Arsenal Gear section with Naked Raiden.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
I go more in depth about this on an older video if you wanna check it, but I'll just say, I completely agree. Even as a teenager, this section was insanely scary due to how surreal it was. Honestly, one of my favorite moments in any video game. You have to live it to believe it. Okay, I purposely saved this for last. My friend Rusty shared a very funny and interesting story of a childhood fear. So here's what he said. Back when I was a kid, We had Resident Evil 2 on the N64, and I was watching my brother play through it. We had a Game Shark, so he had invulnerability and all those funny cheats that you had on. We used to cheat all the time. He was going through the sewers and was up against the alligator. I didn't actually see the alligator in the tunnel, I think he ran around a corner so it wasn't on screen. So I just thought he was running through the sewers when the fucking thing came around and killed him in a single attack! It fucking scared me so badly! I was so confused as to how he died because he had invincibility on with the Game Shark. And I was so fucking scared that it was so powerful that it defeated the cheat device that I was terrified of anything having to do with sewers or murky water for years! Do you know how many fucking games have sewer levels or water levels? I couldn't complete so many games because of this fear, and it's what drew me into JRPGs at an early age. It took me so long to do the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time, or get to the Shivering Isles in Oblivion because I was so afraid of something coming out and killing me instantly like that. Legit, it took me until I was a teenager to finally start to get over it. Funnily enough, when Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, I didn't even bat an eye when the alligator was in that game. I decided to share this story because it's not just very unique and interesting, but also because I related to it a lot, and Resident Evil just so happens to be the guilty party. But there was a major difference here. As one grows up, you learn to overcome a lot of your fears, but there are times where the opposite happens, and those fears linger in your mind one way or another. So let me tell you one of my biggest traumas. I was very young, in a family reunion, when one of my half cousins showed me this cool game about zombies on his hacked PSP called Resident Evil, and while it looked cool, I got scared by that iconic scene. That moment didn't cause the trauma, but it woke up some morbid curiosity inside me about the franchise, so I continued to get more interested in the games. I went on to get more shocked with Resident Evil 2's explicit death scenes, but the final straw happened a few weeks later. So my half-cousin has his first communion. Do you celebrate those in your country? I'm quite curious about that. So he takes out his laptop and a bunch of kids gather together. Naturally I approach and I ask, "Hey, are we gonna watch Dinosaur King?" And some kid tells me, "No, we are gonna watch all of Leon's death scenes in Resident Evil 4. So before I can process what that kid said, I saw everything. The Dr. Salvador decapitation, Salazar ripping Leon apart, the QTE fails, the Lago eating you alive, you three cutting you in half. I guess I could have moved away, but I just couldn't. Was it morbid curiosity? The shock? Me being an idiot? I don't know, but the point is, this left me scarred for many years of my life. If I hear a chainsaw or come across an insta-kill enemy in any game, I get super nervous, extremely anxious, and I'm very prone to panic. There's nothing I hate more than watching a protagonist die in horrible ways. There's games I've always wanted to try like Tomb Raider or Evil Within, but I just can't because I know they can be very explicit with their deaths, and I can't stomach that. As time passed, I've been able to slowly get over it. For example, I played a good chunk of Resident Evil games now, but that childhood experience is, without a doubt, the most traumatic event I lived through video games. And all because I just wanted to watch Dino King.